Hi, my name is Zach, and I'd like to tell you all about how my kidnapper became my girlfriend. I know. Why would I possibly want to date the person who made me go through that nightmare? Well, I'll tell you all about it, and maybe you'll understand. You see, I was always this really popular guy at my college. I was captain of the varsity team, and I knew I could make a real career playing basketball. It was awesome. All the girls my age went crazy for me, and I flirted with them all the time. I knew they all wanted to be with me, so it wasn't like I was in a hurry to settle down or anything like that. Before we move on, hit that like button and smash subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our videos. One day, I was walking to one of my best friend's dorms, minding my own business, when something hit me on the head. It was really painful, and all I can really remember is this big, heavy bag being thrown over my head by a group of people. Suddenly, I blacked out and woke up feeling dizzy and confused. I was tied up and could hear distant giggling and whispering. I tried to open my eyes, but it was hard to focus on anything for a while. When I recovered my senses, I realized that I was locked up in a van, tied to some sort of seat, and that I had been kidnapped. There was this group of people in front of me, looking threatening and mean. I was so scared, so I began to plead for my life, wondering what they could possibly want from me. I didn't come from a super wealthy family, and I wasn't really famous yet. Just good at sports and popular with the girls. I even thought that it might be people from our rival college, and told them that if this was all about winning the past week's game, I would quit the team. I just wanted them to allow me to leave unharmed. These people began taking pictures of me all tied up and sent them to my roommate, explaining what they were doing. They even put a bag on my head on a few shots to let my friend know how serious they were. They called him and spoke as if they were guys with really bad throat sores. I found it odd, but was way too scared to figure out what was going on. They demanded my roommate to send them $3,000 in cryptocurrency, and to do it before they did something bad to me. I was freaking out and begged my friend to send them what they wanted when the kidnappers allowed me to speak to him. I didn't know if my friend had actually sent them the money, and they wouldn't tell me. They just kept making me beg and beg until finally one of the kidnappers took off their masks and the rest followed soon after. I was shocked. They weren't guys at all, but beautiful, stunning girls my age. And the prettiest one of them was this blonde, gorgeous gal I couldn't keep my eyes off of. I was so confused and asked why they kidnapped me and got me in that van after hitting me on the head. The blonde girl explained that she wanted to join a local sorority, and part of the initiation process was to kidnap the guy you had a crush on. That was me. Wow, that really was far better than being kidnapped by merciless criminals. I was flattered, and honestly, she was way too cute to be mad at. Her friends told her there was still one part missing to complete her initiation. She needed to kiss me. She blushed and said she was way too shy to do it. "You can kiss me," I told her. "I won't press charges or anything. I mean, I wish you would have just walked up to me and asked me out, but I understand sorority rules are weird." So she walked up to me and kissed me, and then kissed me again and again, and I kissed her back, melting for her. She was so beautiful. Maybe a bit crazy, but I could deal with that. She let me go, and I asked her out immediately. Her name was Sarah, and we began dating almost straight away. The thing is, she was always acting weird. She would be super normal a few days and then disappear, not taking any of my calls. So one day, a few months after we started dating, I decided to wait until she had fallen asleep while she stayed over at my dorm, and checked her phone. I was so shocked. There were so many pictures of kidnapped guys and threatening messages. She had been doing this for months, and apparently even had a few new targets in mind. Believe me when I say I woke her up immediately and demanded an explanation. Sarah went super pale. She explained that she needed to buy a car and pay for tuition, and this was the only way to do it. Her friends were just helping her out. Sarah told me that she had never asked any of the guys out, and they had made up the sorority initiation stuff because she really was madly in love with me, but didn't know how to ask me out. That was it for me. I didn't care if she loved me or not. She was a criminal. And to top it all off, she was also insane. I told her to leave and never answered her calls or texts again. I didn't report Sarah to the cops because, well, honestly, I'm kind of scared of her and those loony girls she hangs out with. So, that's the story about how I began dating my kidnapper, and then quickly broke up with her.
Hi, my name is Daisy, and I recently found out that my dad isn't really my dad. You see, I moved away to college a few months back. My parents and I had always enjoyed a great relationship together. I thought I could trust them with everything, and after all, they were the people who raised and loved me. It seemed I was wrong, after all. During spring break, I decided to pay them a visit. I wanted to see them, of course, but I also had to find my birth certificate. There were a few student loans I wanted to apply for, and there were a few documents I didn't have with me. So first, everything went fine. I had dinner with my mom and dad. They were so happy I was back home, and we'd only talked on the phone during the past few months. And they gushed over me all night long, asking me about college. The next morning, they had to go to work, so I figured I'd begin searching for the documents. After all, I had nothing to do. I figured it would help us save some time. Mom had told me she'd get them for me when she came back from work, but it seemed silly to wait. After all, it was just my birth certificate and a few other papers that belonged to me. I looked around my bedroom, but of course I couldn't find it there. Mom tended to be the one to keep those kinds of documents safe, so I assumed it must be in her study. But to my surprise, I didn't find it there either. Finally, I walked into my parents' room. Perhaps she put it away in her closet years ago, or just forgot about it. I began searching through Mom and Dad's stuff, trying to keep everything neat. After all, I didn't want them to get annoyed with me for making a mess. Finally, I found a big box filled with all kinds of papers and began checking them out. I did, in fact, find my birth certificate in there. But there was so much more than I could have ever imagined. My dad was named as the father in my certificate, which came as no surprise, but then, beneath it, I saw what seemed like a DNA test. I frowned in confusion. Why would my parents need a DNA test at all? I read through it, and to my complete shock, it showed that my dad wasn't my dad at all. I was stunned. I grabbed the piece of paper and reread it a few more times, trying to make sense of it. I couldn't comprehend what I was staring at. It was as if the words written there were contradicting all I had ever known in my whole life. I was furious and devastated all at the same time, so I grabbed the DNA results and rushed downstairs to grab my phone. I called my mother in a huff, demanding answers. She was incredibly confused at first and asked me what I was talking about. When I managed to calm down and explain that I had found the test and knew that my dad wasn't my biological father, my mom suddenly went very quiet. Mom told me she'd come right home and we'd talk then. It didn't take her even an hour to return from work, apparently making an excuse about a doctor's appointment. I demanded that she let me know what was going on, I just looked like my dad. It was impossible that he wasn't my father. She explained to me that I indeed looked very similar to him because we were related. I asked my mom what she meant, and now I wish I'd never discovered those documents. It turns out that years back my mom cheated on my father. They were married, so even if I wasn't his daughter, I was registered automatically under his name. And who was my real father? My uncle, my dad's brother. So not only had my mom cheated on my father, she'd messed with the guy that I called my uncle all through my life. Dad forgave her, and they just decided to move on without ever telling me the truth. That means I have sisters instead of cousins, and my real father never bothered to raise me, even if he knew that I was his biological daughter. I felt so betrayed and hurt by all their lies. I think I must have screamed at my mom for hours. When my father arrived, or really my uncle, I screamed at him too. And I told them that they'd absolutely betrayed my trust and denied me my right to know the truth about my own life. I told them how I was hurt by the fact that my real father had agreed to let my uncle raise me. My mom tried to explain that they tried to do what they thought was best for me, but lying is never the right way to go. They'd stolen me the possibility of having a real relationship with my father and of being raised by my sister's side. Instead, they manipulated the situation to fit their supposedly perfect marriage. I left that very night, returning to college, my dorm. I haven't spoke to my parents since that incident, and I don't think I'll ever visit or call them again. I'm currently paying for my university fees myself, and I haven't looked back. I simply cannot trust them, and I truly believe I'm better off without them in my life. They've called me a few times, but I never pick up the phone.